Let's start by sketching the main point of interest, which is the house. And I use the rule of thirds to place it not in the center, but a bit off to the right. I'm interested in this sweeping curve that leads from the house into the trees on the bottom. Once I shaded roughly all the shadow areas, I cover it with a coat of yellow ochre and I let it dry. I block all of the masses with a viridian green in a darker color, and I redraw the house and I give it more emphasis and I put some more detail for me to guide me. This is the main theme of the painting, so everything is going to revolve around it. After that, I paint the sky and the far away trees in a shade of blue, because as it recedes on the landscapes, it gets bluer. When I paint the trees, I use three different shades. One is a darker greenish, blackish color for the shadow. Then I use a mid-tone, which is the same shade with a little bit of white and yellow. And then finally I add the highlights. I use a warm yellow green for it because it's an afternoon setting. And then I use a richer and deeper black as the landscape gets closer to me. I'm using a warmer shade of sienna to paint the road, and as I do that, I mix it with some of the green that I have for the highlights and bringing more a little bit of the yellow ochre and white. And I'm keeping my palette very simple. It's probably 4 or 5 colors, no more than that. Now, the closer that the trees get to me, the warmer than the highlights are. So I'm starting from a very cool highlights in the background, and now once I'm in the foreground, I can get into richer and deeper greens. Now, one of the things I love about this composition is that this big empty yellow whitish area makes a great contrast with all the trees on the left, and it balances the picture. And it's the area where the eye enters and focuses on the house. Here's an up-close shot of the trees and the highlights. And as you can see, it's a warmer and richer green, and I am mixing it with a little bit of white and some lemon yellow, just to give that sunny late afternoon feeling. All of the trees that are in the same plane get the same treatment. An 8.5 by 11 size painting, so I am using very small brushes. The ones that I prefer are the ones that I customize myself. I use some old filbert brushes, and I trim it and I cut the ends so I can get like all these interesting shapes that will create all the foliage. On the path behind, I'm using a combination of a raw umber, a little bit of a alizarin, and very little black. I am bringing the highlights with some white and yellow, and always keeping the same earth tones color palette, no more than 5 colors, so everything feels as if it's under the same light. Again, the closer the landscape gets to me, the higher the chroma and the saturation of the color. So here it's a bit of lemon yellow, yellow ochre, and white. Finally, for the foreground trees, I use a fan brush, which is makes all these different leaves shapes, and again using the same three colors for the deepest shadow of the tree, the midtones, and the highlights. I'm keeping an eye on the direction of the light, which is coming from the right, and putting more highlights on the right and keeping the darker shadow on the left. Now the barn house is gonna get its final treatment, and I'm using a combination of brushes and a permanent marker for the deepest black areas. This is a small house, so I need the fine point to be able to get all the details that I want. I'm working on the small bushes and using the same colors, adding a little more chroma so they can stand out more now that they're in the foreground. I'm going to leave details on the materials that I used on the description below. So if you like this video, please comment and share.